This meeting come to order. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2017. This is a voting meeting of the Prescott City Council. Introductions are normally done by the Mayor Pro Tem, but he's absent, excused today. So I just want to welcome everybody for taking time out of your day to come in here. And I think today's going to be fairly quick. We got a number of proclamations, and I think our consent agenda item will go fairly quickly, and we only have 3 items on the regular agenda. So anyway, we'll start with the invocation from Reverend Diane Dixon and the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilman Blair.
Let us center ourselves in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the continued blessings you have bestowed on the city of Prescott and this nation. We ask you to guide the hearts and actions of this council and their staff as they make the sometimes difficult decisions that keep us a safe and viable city. We pray this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Oberg.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lamerson is absent, excused. Councilman Blair.
Yes.
Councilman Lozelle.
Here.
Councilwoman Orr.
Here.
Councilman Shiska.
Here.
Councilwoman Wilcox.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. City Manager, do you have any announcements?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll start with the proclamations.
Item 8, recognizing the 2017 Lions Club International Centennial Year Celebration. And I believe the president of the Lions Club is here.
I thank you, Councilman and Mr. Mayor. This is the 100th birthday of the Lions International, which the Prescott Noon Lions are a big part of. We were chartered back in 1947, so we've been around Prescott a long, long time. Lions International was chartered in 1917 by a gentleman from Fort Thomas, Arizona. So we have an Arizonan to thank for all of this. We like to think that where there's a need, there's a lion. That's one of our mottos. The other one is that we serve. We serve the public. We do a lot of things. A friend of mine told me the other day that we were the best kept secret in Prescott, though. So we're trying to change that. This 100th birthday proclamation is really a big deal to us. It's a big deal to Lions International and our cabinet. I'm sure that most of you have attended our pancake outing, which is another big deal. But we do a paper recycling project at the city transfer yard twice a week, and we keep a lot of paper out of the landfill. We really do. We recycle a lot of paper, and it's made into a lot of different items. We truck it down to Phoenix and sell it to a broker, and some of it winds up as newspaper again. The Koreans, believe it or not, love the blue newspaper that it turns out. I don't know why, but they do. And but it's made into all sorts of things. So we're pretty happy with what we're doing. We have 107 members here in Prescott, and we're strong. We have several other clubs. We have an evening club and a morning club, which I'm sure that a lot of you have heard about. And they all do a lot of good things. Like I said, our motto is we serve. And we plan to do a lot of serving this next year. You may or may not have seen our vision van around. It's going to go all over Yavapai County and serve some of the outlying cities that don't get proper eye care. And we're purchasing a spot machine to go into the schools. And that is going to be a continuing Lion project. The other big project we're working on right now is Project New Hope, and it's a veterans initiative. Working through the VA and the state, we're going to provide a camping long weekend for a veteran, their spouse, and their children, with counselors from the VA to talk to them about this PSTD, which is really terrible. We had a gentleman come in from Minnesota the other day. The Minnesota Lions are the ones who started this, and we're going to started here in Arizona, and we think it's a wonderful thing.
Okay.
So we thank you for the proclamation, Mr. Mayor. and
Step on up
Councilman.
there to the platform and
So
we'll read
do,
it for
do
you.
I still need to read this, Mayor?
Now, we'll go ahead and read it, and then if he has any further comment.
Go ahead.
Now, come on up. Come on
Well,
up here. Do you have any other line
I've
members?
been
that
in
don't want to
Rotary
come
for 37 years, so this ought to be interesting. We are proclaiming 2017 Lions Club's International Centennial Year Celebration. Whereas Lions Clubs International has proclaimed 2017 the year of celebration of the founding of the Lions Club International, and whereas the members of the Prescott Noon, whereas I'm a Rotarian, whereas the members of the Prescott Noon Lions Club have been active volunteers dedicated to serving those in need in our community in numerous humanitarian and philanthropic projects in Prescott, Arizona, and whereas Lions Club International membership is open to people regardless of ethnic identity, religion, physical ability, gender, or political preference, with a mission statement to empower volunteers to serve their communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs, and whereas Prescott Noon Lions Club members share with all other Lions Clubs the same international motto of "We Serve," which inspires members to provide humanitarian service locally and globally to maintain high ethical standards, and whereas through its many initiatives, Lions Club International and Prescott Noon Lions Club members, along with their fellow 3,000 plus Lions in Arizona and 1.4 million Lions in 210 countries and 46,000 clubs worldwide, make a big difference every day in areas including assistance for youth, hunger, environment, vision, and disaster relief, and we value what they are doing. Now, therefore, Harry Oberg, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim and recognize 2017 as the centennial year for Lions Club International, and urges his fellow citizens to recognize the crucial role played by Lions Club members within our community and throughout the world.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item B, proclaiming April 9th through the 15th, 2017 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And Dispatch Supervisor Rob Martin is here along with members of the PRCC.
Well, you're also young. My goodness. You keep us safe. This is great. This is a proclamation declaring the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 9th through the 15th, 2017. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. Whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Prescott Regional Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Prescott Regional Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, the Mayor and the Council of the City of Prescott do hereby proclaim April 9th through 15th 2017, to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Prescott to be affixed this 11th day of April, 2017, signed by Mayor Harry B. Oberg. Rob, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a very important recognition for us. What we do is a very important and it's a very tough job, and it does go unrecognized a lot of the times because we are behind closed doors. I just wanted to paint a small picture of what each and every one of us do in there. We have a console that has approximately 6 monitors, 2 keyboards, and 4 mouses. And each person runs dispatch for fire and police, answers 911, and calls the service for the public. So, and we do that on a constant basis. So this recognition is very important to us. Thank you.
Item C, proclaiming April 2017 as Water Awareness Week, and Leslie Grazer is here to accept.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We often talk about water, so it's apropos that April would be Water Awareness Month. Whereas water is one of Arizona's most vital and precious resources, and whereas all citizens and visitors of the city of Prescott should strive to use water efficiently and effectively, practicing low water use lifestyle to contribute to assuring a long-term supply of water in our community. Whereas water education is a cornerstone to any comprehensive water conservation program, and greater awareness of water issues can be gained through the community education, action, and celebration. And whereas the City of Prescott is committed to delivering high-quality water and managing its water resources to meet the needs of its current and future customers. Now, therefore, I, Harry B. Oberg, Mayor of the City of Prescott, do here proclaim April as Water Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Probably have us up here enough with water, but I wanted to provide a few things for the public. Water awareness is happening actually all the time in our community. We're a really good community for water conservation. If we look at our gallons per capita per day use, it's 120 this past year. Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. And in 2002, it was 180. So the community's really worked hard to drop that gallons per person per use per day by 60 gallons. That's impressive. So I brought a few materials just to leave in the back because we have different levels of understanding of conservation. So there's a large checklist, and I think this is for more experienced folks where they still want to find where they can still conserve water in their home or outdoors. So I was going to run it through my home and see if I could check off all the boxes or not. For somebody who's brand new, I also printed this one out. This is just the first page because it can be overwhelming. You don't need to do this all at once. But there's what's a toilet tablet to see if your toilet's leaking. You know, I hear that probably in my sleep. If I hear something running, I know I need to go check something. But sometimes people let the toilets run and run. But there's a little die tab, or if you have friends who might need something like that. Moving to outdoor water use. Please be aware the city has a Water Smart Landscaping website, and it has lots of different information on it for your outdoor water needs. And the last one, we don't want to forget the youngest, the youngest folks in our community. I also left out a packet, so if you have children, grandchildren, you're welcome to take one of these. And we keep these stocked at our local information areas, and we put a lot of information online, and don't hesitate to call us. But overall, the community is doing a great job.
Thank you.
Where are those available?
Right now on the back table
Okay.
here for those that are here.
All right.
And then we'll stock them in the public area.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Leslie.
Item D, proclaiming April and May 2017 as Prescott's Bike Month. And Mr. Bill Finelli is here to accept the proclamation. And then after the proclamation, Mr. Finelli will give a brief presentation on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
And Bill, will be okay if we ask the Bike and Pedestrian Committee to join you?
Sure, come on
We
up.
have Sandra and Les and Sandy and Ian, who works with us from the city.
We also have a couple representatives on the board of our two largest bike groups here.
Bring
So
'em on
Brent
up.
Roberts from Pimba
Absolutely.
and Pete Lang from Bike Prescott as well. If you would come
Please
on up.
join
Great.
us.
You're well connected.
It's been a delight of mine as a council person to work with these individuals on our Bike and Pedestrian Committee. Proclamation Bike Months, April and May 2017. Whereas National Bike Month was established in 1956 and is now celebrated coast to coast. And whereas this past year's energizing addition of the Prescott's Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee to the local bicycling nonprofits and clubs, whereas Prescott celebrates bicycling and other recreational activities by hosting many outdoor events each year in April and May, and whereas Bike Month is about promoting safety and education to cyclists and motorists as well, and pedestrians. Whereas some of the scheduled events for this year are as follows. April the 8th, Prescott Circle Trail distance running events. April 15th, Arizona Mountain Biking MBAA competitions in Pioneer Park. April 22nd, Earth Day and the Granite Creek Cleanup. April 28th through the 30th, Whiskey Off-Road Mountain Biking Races. May 6th, Whiskey Road Marathon, and May 19th, Ride to Work with the Mayor. Now, therefore, Harry Oberg, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim April and May 2017 as Prescott's Bike Months for all to enjoy many outdoor amenities that we have in the City of Prescott. Thank you all for all you've done. Whoops. Thank you, Sandra.
Okay, we'll start with the first presentation. You want to head?
Actually, it's Mr. Finelli. Update on the mayor's ad hoc bicycle and pedestrian committee.
Great, and it's great that we actually have two bike months for Prescott, because it just shows you how far and how many activities are going on in the city, so it's great. I'd like to thank the mayor for establishing the committee in the first place, and the council for your support, and particularly Councilman Wilcox, or Councilman Orr, who has been with all of our meetings. It's been great, keeping us on track. It really helps a lot. I'd also like to thank the city staff. Henry's been very, very helpful, and then Ian is our go-to guy. He knows this stuff left and right, which is fantastic. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on what's going on in different parts of the country, learning about how to construct bike and car interfaces safely. So that helps out a lot. Also, we've had quite a few folks of the general public who come into our meetings on a regular basis, representing all kinds of organizations, Prescott Alternative Transportation, the new Outdoors Fund that's out there. And so they're bringing to the table also experience, having served the city in various capacities on committees in the past as well. That helps a lot. So again, we didn't have to start kind of from ground zero and learn everything up. So that helps a lot. We kind of consider them essentially part of the committees that we work with as well. From a background standpoint, I thought I'd talk just about a couple things. So there's two kind of governing documents that deal with bike and pedestrian safety in Prescott. We have the general plan, and then there was a bike and pedestrian plan that was adopted by the council back in November of 2015. The general plan has quite a few specific detailed items in there that we look to, items such as creating what's called complete streets, which are streets that provide for all different methods of transportation in a safe fashion. There's items in there that talk about connectivity. So the idea of saying, rather than just have a set of haphazard bike lanes and so forth, focus the efforts on areas where you go from residential areas to downtown or to schools or to recreational areas. Similarly, the PED plan that was updated for 2015 really focuses on three items: safety, increasing the number of trips between bikes and pedestrians, and improving the infrastructure. In addition to those two items, then the mayor's ad hoc committee had some additional objectives, providing input on street projects, developing educational programs for really all users, motorists, cyclists, pedestrians, and advising on funding opportunities as well. So far to date, we've had 12 meetings thus far, and there's kind of 3 overarching principles that our committee focuses on. 1, safety, very important thing, number 1. 2, connectivity, again, so that we get the best bang for our buck when we're working on road improvements. And lastly, really to focus on items that'll maximize the economic benefits to Prescott as a great outdoors mecca that it is, and it continues to grow in that. And so one of the key items there, of course, are all these great trailheads that we have throughout in the Circle Trail, and we'll get to that in a minute. But moving on, what we've done this year so far then, spent quite a bit of time getting up to date on all the work that's in progress. As you guys know, there's a long lead time from when we're going to work on a road to design to actually construction. And so we had spent quite a bit of time going through the details of all those programs to provide input into those. Secondly, on the city standards, we work very closely with Ian so that we're all kind of on the same page on when we're building new roads going forward, what are we looking to do? Some good examples of that are the Willow Creek Road extension project, the realignment, has a nice wide bicycle shoulder. Cyclists love riding on that thing. It's very scenic and very safe as well. In addition, Willow Creek Road, say from Fry's down to Pioneer Parkway, that now has a wider bike lane than it used to have. And he worked hard to figure out how to get a little extra space to make that all work. That's also fantastic because there are a lot of road rides that leave that area and head out towards Chino Valley, mainly because it's flatter, so you don't have to kill yourself going up and down hill. So people love that route. You get a little extra space. Also helps the folks driving in Embry-Riddle as well, the students going there. So that was a big plus as well. And then lastly, on Walker Road, the intersection there was redone, and so there you'll see now that there are actually bike lanes with the bike lane insignia in there. We also worked to figure out the best way to deal with the left turn back onto 69 coming from Walker Road. So there's now a bike lane to the far right of the 2 left turn lanes, so cyclists know where to hang out and not to hang out in the middle of the lanes where the cars are. So that helps out quite a bit. We're also looking at incident reporting. So we've looked from 2012 to 2016 incidents of motorists and pedestrians, interactions, as well as cyclists, to understand where there's trends so that we can take a look and say, okay, are these areas that we need to zoom in on and figure out ways to make those a little bit safer for folks. We actually had one of our regulars came in who's a cycling instructor. He took us through a very good course on cycling safety so that our committee's all up to speed on that. And one of our police officers also took us through Arizona law and Prescott law. So again, the committee's kind of totally up to speed on that as well. And then there's a Safe Routes to Schools grant that Prescott Alternative Transportation actually got several years ago that's actually now finally coming to fruition. It was a federal grant. And there's about $1 million that's going to be spent on 3 of our local schools for sidewalk and pathway improvements. That's in design phase right now. Over the course of this year, it actually should be rolled out. And I believe it was almost 10 years from when they secured the funding till when it actually, the dollars are coughed up and things are rolling. But that's kind of the nature of that, how that works. And then lastly, there's a visual that I'll show you in a minute, but the idea of we wanted to really develop kind of a map to say, let's, again, focus our time and our money on places where it really counts. And so we've developed this concept of a hub and spoke map. If you think of it as like an old wagon wheel, where the courthouse square's in the middle, you've got spokes running out, which are really all the main roads leaving town in all the directions. There's a key trailhead in each of those locations where people come for recreation to either hike or mountain bike. And what we want to be able to do there is actually have routes so people can ride safely to those routes as opposed to just driving their car all the time. It'll also help then drive traffic into the businesses. Creates a much better experience for folks that are coming to do these out-of-town events, as opposed to trying to fight, worrying about being able to park at a place. Just, you're parked at your hotel and you just go do your event. So that's something that we're going to be working on as well. We spent most of our time as a committee working on biking matters. Frankly, the city, between the ADA, which has very specific requirements on sidewalk matters, and the fact that I think the city is doing a lot of things ahead of us before the committee even existed. And here's a good example, the Alarcon Street improvement, which you guys have all seen quite a bit of it. Those pedestrian bump outs, which reduce the amount of time someone has to spend in a crosswalk, huge plus for people trying to cross the street, obviously, because it's a much easier thing to deal with. So while we do deal with pedestrian matters, like I say, I think we spend most of our time related to cycling. This is that hub and spoke map, and the details really aren't as much important as the concept. But the cool thing is that the tire of that hub and spoke is actually the Circle Trail, which wraps. It's almost fully complete. There's a little section by Williamson Valley Road, and that's it. But that's 50 miles, which is an unbelievable undertaking that the city put, that was put together by a bunch of folks. But so what we want, again, we're focusing on routes to get out there, and then also we're overlaying that with all the schools that we have in town. So those are the two areas that we're really focusing on, is schools and then the recreational side of things. And so now kind of the next steps, which we'll get into in a minute, is really drilling down, and as road repavements come up or striping, we kind of piggyback onto those, but then we'll also be prioritizing additional projects to say, okay, here's something that's really important that makes sense. We'll start bringing those forward as well. Before I get into kind of the next steps is what we're going to be focusing on for the remainder of our committee, just wanted to point out the kind of the size of cycling in Prescott right now. It's big and it's growing a lot. We have 6 bike stores in town right now, and a huge list of events that is growing every year. Principally mountain bike events. You're familiar with the Whiskey Off-Road, which is the biggest economic provider, but there's a NBA Mountain Bike Association of Arizona race coming up this Saturday in Pioneer Park, for example. People come to these events, stay here, stay overnight, spend quite a bit of dough as well. And also folks come up particularly from the valley or surrounding areas to pre-ride these courses. So people are even in advance of these things coming up, trying to get an understanding of what the course is all about before the race comes. And so being able to put on these types of events, and even the smaller ones, really have a kind of a multiplier effect as far as really how many new visits we get from tourists coming into town. I also point out that the high school group now, there's quite a few high school teams. Prescott High School has a team, and so does Basis School. There's going to be a race again this year at Pioneer Park, and what that'll do, it's the same kind of a thing. It's an overnight deal, and there's going to be hundreds of cyclists there with their families staying for the weekend here in Prescott, spending dough. So again, that's important. There's also a new category of cycling, which is called gravel grinding, which is riding on basically forest roads. And there's a race called the Bradshaw Grinder that kind of starts out in Mayer and cruises through kind of to Crown King that area, so it doesn't come quite close through here. But also went in Chino Valley. But there's been also some pre-rides here, for example. 2 weeks ago we did one where 40 people came up from the valley to do that. And we started in town, and people went to restaurants. It was on a Sunday. People went to restaurants certainly after that. First thing you do when you finish riding, you want to go eat. And so it's great that it brings business. So that's growing like crazy. We've got 2 big bike clubs here. You've saw a couple of folks from that. Bike Prescott has about 100 members and about 300 people that follow their rides. They put on about 5 rides a week on average, and same kind of a deal. They usually start near a restaurant or by a coffee shop, and then they end there as well. For their perspective, they kind of start in the city, and then they spend most of their time on county roads, because of the nature of road cycling. You want to put in some big miles. The mountain bike groups have 3 regularly scheduled rides every week. They have hundreds of thousands of hours of volunteer time that they put into building trails. They're working with a youth group with middle school students as well in town, so they're really doing a lot to move things along as well. And then, of course, there's the Over the Hill Gang, which has done unbelievable work on the trails here. The Circle Trail wouldn't be a circle without them. I'm sure it would be a little segment, probably, frankly. And then I pointed up here some of our off-road cycling facilities. The big, I think, important thing coming up is at Emmanuel Pines, there's going to be roughly 30 new miles of trails there and 2 new trailheads. And so again, that's a key route for us because we think there's going to be a lot of activity going on up there. And so having a nice, safe route to get up through Miller Valley Road, Iron Springs up to there will be an important thing going forward as well. So going forward, one of the things that kind of hit us was, we want to be focused, but we want to get a bunch of stuff done. And so we have the term of the committee runs through the mayor's term this fall. And so we've set aside what we think is a manageable number of items to really focus on to get some things done. So we've grouped them into 4 categories: facilities, funding, education, and awareness. And we're setting up in the process of setting up these working groups that will include committee members as well as folks from in the community so that we can kind of leverage the volunteer group that we have out here and frankly get more done rather than just within the confines of monthly meetings. We think we can get our tentacles going throughout the month and get more done. So from a facility standpoint, kind of 2 big items. That hub and spoke map, it's really working on lane marking and signage for those areas. And from the downtown area, creating some sort of logical, safe, sensible routing of folks through the downtown, which easier said than done, but for both commuters, visitors, and recreational cyclists. It'd be, you know, if you come in, for example, I drove in here down through 69 and then on Gurley. It's a, you know, if you're on a bike and if you're not comfortable, if you're from out of town, you're probably a little nervous to be riding around out there. So we're going to, again, the devil's in the details in something like that, but there's always a solution for something like that. So that's one of the big things we want to work on. Funding, with the nonprofits that exist there's quite a bit of activity going on. The mountain bike group is actually raising quite a bit of money. A lot of them, a fair amount of money going into the Emmanuel Pines Trail has been raised through that group. So that's going to help that out a lot. Education, we're going to do a survey of every single school here and understand what they need for additional infrastructure needs and see how we can accommodate that from a pedestrian and bike standpoint. And then one of the big things, as we get more bikes on the road and as we, for example, get people going through downtown, there's going to be more situations where bikes and cars will come together. Roundabouts are another good example of something like that. And there are circumstances where the safest way to do it is for a cyclist to what's called take the lane, which means in a slow-moving situation, such as a roundabout or a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, if there's no room, then you shouldn't be riding right on the corner there where no one can see you and accidentally open a door or cut you off making a right turn. That will cause bikes and cars to see each other more, and some people on both sides of the equation will have to get comfortable with that. And so it'll be important for us to have a more of an awareness campaign. What I've found over the years is a little courtesy on both sides really takes care of it, because it's a very short window of time where there's actually an interaction. But if one side or the other is not being courteous to the other, then it doesn't work out so well. And lastly, from an awareness standpoint, one of the things in our general plan talks about applying for a bike-friendly status. So we're at a point now where we think it makes sense to do that. We've talked to Ian and Henry. They believe that there is no cost where you write a check for that to happen. You fill out an application. We have quite a bit of the information the city does to do that. So the cost is some staff time to actually help us out to get that done. But there's about 400 cities in the U.S. that have bike-friendly status right now, 10 in the state of Arizona. Quite a few of them in the Valley and Tucson, but Flagstaff has it, Cottonwood has it, and Sedona has it as well. What we get out of that, and often it's hit or miss whether you pass the first time, but they give you a very detailed list of, based on them reviewing all these other cities, here's some things you need to focus on, and then you'll get that. So we believe it'll be a very helpful tool to have as well. And then when we ultimately achieve bike-friendly status, great thing for PR as well. Certainly you've read all the articles about how great a place it is to retire in Prescott or for the outdoors. It'd be great to add on cycling as one of those items to add on as well to the top of that. That is it. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, can I just make a comment? Bill, I'd like to thank you for your leadership on the committee. You've done a great job, and I'd like to recognize Ian again and Henry Hash and Teresa Ogle, the work that they've done with the committee, and all of this is volunteer. So bless you for that, because it's really made a difference for our city.
Thanks for letting us do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
I'd like to make a comment, too, if I may.
Go ahead.
The committee actually got reestablished prior to Mayor Oberg's taking office, and I really pushed for the reestablishment of the committee after it had been disbanded under a previous administration.
Yeah,
and I've been a longtime advocate of bicycle safety and incorporating safety measures in our public infrastructure, pedestrian safety measures. A lot of the people who are on the committee now were originally on the committee 3 years ago, and you've stuck with it, and you've really accomplished a lot. It's great to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next item.
Update on Yavapai College presented by Dr. Clint Ewell.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to come and give our semi-annual update on what's happening at Yavapai College. I apologize for inundating you with materials. I just want to highlight a couple things, though. This first one with the glossy cover is the board's annual report. And as you may be aware, our primary goals at the college are to be making our communities a great place to learn, to work, and to live. And this report is really trying to highlight all the various and sundry accomplishments that the board felt that we have made over the past year. The The next document is a letter from Dr. Wills that comes out twice a year. This is a kind of a more detailed overview of what's happening at all the various and sundry locations throughout Yavapai County. As you know, Yavapai College, our home campus, is right here in Prescott, but we have locations throughout the county, including Sedona, Prescott Valley, Clarkdale, Chino, and we also have actually two facilities here. We have the main campus just up the street, and we have the C-Tech facility out by the airport. Altogether, we kind of fly under the radar. People don't really think of us as being that big, but we're servicing about 9,000 credit students and another 6,000 non-credit students, so hopefully making a really nice impact on the community. What I wanted to do is just spend a couple of minutes highlighting some things that you won't be able to read tonight as you're, I'm sure, perusing through this very carefully at home. One thing I just wanted to make sure everybody knows here in the audience and at home and the council is that registration for summer has opened, and it's not just for the credit classes. We also have a program called College for Kids where kids that are basically kindergarten through high school can come to college and do some day camp kind of activities throughout the summer. Another thing that I wanted to make people aware of is that we are approaching the end of our budget process. We will be bringing the preliminary budget to our board next week. As you may know, we have an operating budget of just over $40 million and a capital budget roughly of $10 million. We are not going to be asking for a levy increase, which I think will be good news for everyone. And yet, as part of that, we're going to be able to be pursuing a number of capital construction projects throughout the district. You may have heard that at our Sedona Center, which is right across the street from Red Rock High School, we are renovating and expanding that facility, and we're going to make it a center for our culinary program and our hospitality program. Just up the street in Prescott Valley, we are renovating and expanding that facility, and its focus will become more on allied health type of programming. And then here in Prescott, we are going to be renovating Building 1 and Building 15. So Building 1 is kind of that student service area at the main quad. Building 15 is the back half of the Performing Arts Center, and we're really going to give both our visual arts and our performing arts a facelift. Building 15 is actually the oldest building on campus that hasn't been renovated. It's been 22 years, so it's in need of some love and tender care. Altogether, each of those three major projects, Sedona, Prescott Valley, and Prescott, are about $6 million of investment each. So we will be spending taxpayer dollars right here in county, keeping our facilities up to date, keeping our programs up to date, and hopefully providing some stimulus to the economy. Two more things. One is that we just did a study, and we compared our graduates who went on to one of the four-year schools and how did they do in their junior year versus other students who started at that four-year school, and our students did just as well. And we were not sure what the outcome was going to be. We were very pleased that our students are doing just as well, but I think it speaks to the quality of our faculty and of our programs, and it really speaks to the fact that people can stay right here in town, save about $7,000 or $8,000 a year, and get their freshman and sophomore year done before they move on to the four-year schools. And then the last thing I will mention is our Performing Arts Center season is coming to an end. We had about 25 different shows this year, but we have a couple more to wrap us up. We have comedienne Rita Redner on April 15th. We have jazz vocalist Catherine Russell on April 22nd. We have Ballet West on April 28th. And then we'll have our normal folks that we host. The Phoenix Symphony has a couple of engagements in the next couple of months. We have the Prescott Film Festival in June, Cowboy Poets coming up later in the summer. So with that, that's my update. I'd be happy to answer any kind of questions you might have.
Any questions, comments?
How many students do you have at Yavapai College?
We have about the 9,000 credit students and 6,000 non-credit students.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So is your enrollment holding steady or going up, or?
You know, community colleges tend to be counter-cyclical, so as the economy improves, people go back to work and they leave school. We have been shrinking, but our enrollments were almost flat this past semester, down only about 2%.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next.
Item C, update on the Art and Public Places Committee by Cynthia Gresser.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here. As you know, over a year ago, this council authorized the Art and Public Places Committee. We have been meeting as needed, but wanted to assure you that we are meeting and we are doing good things. Brief history, as you know, there had previously been no process for the submission of art in Prescott on any public grounds, and I am happy to say that we now have process, and we have also created a full catalog of all of the art in the city of Prescott that we believe we own. Tyler? Tyler is going to demonstrate for you the way our catalog works, and I would like to give full credit and compliments to one of the members of our committee, Ms. Alex Rudolph, who has created this catalog for you. And so the piece that we're going to feature is a piece that you look at all the time, and that would be Rick Terry's Early Rodeo piece. And so as you can see, we're going into the catalog. We pull up by the artist, and then you can see his biography, what he's done, where he's from. You can go back and then look at all of the information that we actually have on that piece, the unveiling, who was there, when it occurred. So all documents have been scanned in. And then, of course, you need to be able to recognize the piece of art. And so we have photos. And those photos document not just what it is and how it looks, but what the condition of it is, and any other details that we can capture for those pieces of art. That will give us an indicator into the future. As things deteriorate, we know when we will need to address any condition issues, any maintenance issues for those pieces of art. Again, kudos to Alex Rudolph, who created this catalog. So we now know what art we have. We know where it is. We know sort of whether we own it or not. The other thing that we have managed to do is, again, create process. And process is not complete without forms that go along with it. So kudos to Ron Miller, another member of the committee, who drafted all of the agreements. And as you can see, these are the agreements that now are available online. And to access all of those documents is really not too hard. You go on to city leadership, go on to boards, then go to the Art and Public Places, and it leads you to a description of our committee, what we do, how we do it, and then all of the forms that are necessary to complete the process. So what I'm here today to talk about is awareness. We are up and running, and art is being contemplated, and I'm starting to hear whispers out in the community about people putting plaques on benches in parks. And I have now had the first initial discussions with the Phippen Museum regarding the Phippen Roundabout, and as soon as they have made their final selection of their piece of art that they want to put in there, they will be putting that through our process to vet it and to give it our first test run. Yay. But I would appreciate it if Mayor and Council would communicate with the rest of the city leaders that as you are contemplating art within our city, we now have process for its acceptance. And to be mindful of that, and to please bring forward any and all proposals for public art to our committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Councilman Orr, for
You're
being
welcome.
part of our team, and thank you, Tyler, for backing us up. So
Can you have your committee stand up so we can recognize
there's
them?
only two of them here, but there's Alex Rudolph and Ron Miller. The other members of our committee are Jim Antonius and Tom Restifo.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Move on to consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes for the city council meetings held on March 28, 2017. Item B, approval of acceptance and expenditure of grant funds from the Yavapai Community Foundation in the amount of $11,500 to be utilized to purchase a new police K-9 and train a K-9 handler. Item C, approval of grant applications to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety in the total amount of $116,000 for the replacement purchase of an unmarked traffic enforcement vehicle and funds to offset overtime costs related to DUI and traffic enforcement. Item D is going to be pulled at the request of the property owner, and they'd like to have it rescheduled, so it won't be considered today. Item E, approval of amendment number 1 to city contract number 2017-122A1 for professional services for the South Tank Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $26,650. Item F, award of city contract number 2017-291 to Traffic Safety Incorporated for the fiscal year 17 annual pavement marking contract project in the amount of $142,842.80. And item G, approval of final plat FP 17-001 for phases 1, 2, and 3 for Antelope Crossings PAD, a 255-lot single-family workforce housing planned area development. Zoning multifamily high, business regional, industrial light, property owner James Deep Well Ranches, number 1, LLC.
Does anyone want to pull any of the consent agenda items for further discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve consent items 9A through 9G without D.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Next item.
Item 10A1, public hearing and consideration of a new liquor license application for a Series 19 remote tasting room liquor license from Jeffrey Lee Herbert, applicant for Superstition Meadery located at 120 West Gurley Street. Mayor and Council, this is a request for a Series 19 remote tasting room liquor license. In November 2016, Superstition Meadery applied for a Series 13 farm winery liquor license located at 6678 Intercal Way, which was approved by both the council and the state liquor board. They're now requesting a Series 19 remote tasting room license for their location at 120 West Gurley Street. State statute allows for a farm winery license to operate up to 2 remote tasting and retail premises. The police department has reviewed the application, and the community development department has reviewed the application, and they've been found to be in compliance. The fees have been paid, and the application has been posted at the proposed location for the required 20 days. No public comments have been received, and I think the applicant's representative is in attendance.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Doing well. My name is Micah Mayland, and yeah, we are, as you know, we have built our new production facility out in the air park. And our tasting room, we would like to just be a tasting room now, and no more production there. So we're not adding any seating, we're not changing the use, just making it more of what it is.
Can you tell us about mead?
Yes, I can. I'll give you the abbreviated version, though. Mead is the world's oldest known form of alcohol. So it's not made with grapes or grains, it's made from honey. And we use all Arizona honey, which we source from Crockett's honey down in the valley.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the council? Any from the public? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Do I have a second motion?
Mayor, I move to approve recommendation for liquor license application number 1913306 for a Series 19 remote tasting room liquor license for Superstition Meadery located at 120 West Gurley Street.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Regular agenda.
Item A, public hearing for their alternative expenditure limit home rule ballot proposition.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our home rule election. This is the 7th time that the City of Prescott has taken it to the public. The process involves putting together a publicity pamphlet, which is this really sounds like it's echoing today, which is in the council packet for the public today. This is the first public hearing. In the publicity pamphlet, of course, we have the proposed resolution, which will be considered after the next public hearing. We have the summary or the detailed analysis, which goes into detail on projections of what our anticipated expenditures will be out for fiscal 19, 20, 21, and 22. And then it also has the summary analysis, which includes those same expenditures. And as you can see, for example, in fiscal year 19, we're projecting needing to spend $164 million, but with the home rule limits that are imposed by the state limit, we would only be able to spend $112. So this home rule alternative will allow that limit to be set locally here by the council and by the public through public workshops and public hearings as part of our budget process each year, not by the formula that is stipulated in state law. With that, again, this is a public hearing, so I guess we'll hear if there's anybody from the public.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council first? Any from the public?
Mayor, I do have one question for Mark. We will explain this in the ballot, right, of why the yes and why the no, or
Yes, and as part of the publicity pamphlet, there is a one-page Q&A section that talks about what is the expenditure limit, what are the disadvantages, advantages, how's the savings revenue, availability, can't spend it, that type of stuff. And essentially, if you go through these, you can see that without this local option, we would not be able to spend approximately $35 million a year for infrastructure improvements and other things, which we have in our revenue from water, from wastewater, and those things, but because of the limit, we wouldn't be able to spend it.
But that'll be in, I guess my question, that'll be in that thing that we send, the booklet that we send out to.
Yes, this is the draft of the booklet, and this Q&A is in there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Real quick, I can't ever help this because I always wonder what makes the state more knowledgeable about what we need to do in a community.
The snake.
As a chartered community. As a chartered community, why did this all evolve? Is it because of communities that weren't chartered that needed to have help with their budget?
Well, it was an Arizona response to California Proposition 13. That's actually our first Q&A here is where it came about. It was actually a voter initiative that came out of the Prop 13 issues in California and just kind of spilled over into Arizona and established this base limit of 1980 as the expenditure limit for all cities or towns. And it's been incremented from there by CPI over the years. But the CPI doesn't take into account different service levels, the increasing costs of providing water and wastewater service, which are well beyond CPI, and things like that. So it doesn't work that well, and that's why I believe if you look statewide of the 90 cities that are in the state, I believe 60 or 65 of them go for the home rule election, and I think another 5 have done a permanent basis adjustment.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Orr?
Yes, I always describe to folks that this is about home rule, is about local control.
It's a good way to explain it, Councilwoman.
Any other questions from the council? Any from the public? Do you have a motion?
Is there a motion? It's just a hearing.
Just to close.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Next item, please.
Item B, approval of donation agreement with Prescott Pickleball Association for the construction of the pickleball courts at Pioneer Park, city contract number 2017-259, and appropriation of $25,000 towards the cost of construction allocated out of the bed tax fund. And Mayor and Council, in the council memo, on the first page, it listed the funding source as general fund, but it really is the bed tax fund. That was an error.
Thank you, Mayor Council. I was going to clarify that too. I apologize for that typo. The Recreation Services Department is seeking approval to enter into a donation agreement with the Prescott Pickleball Association for construction of 8 pickleball courts out in an existing portion of Pioneer Park, and also to formalize the $25,000 financial contribution out of bed tax. A little background, in 2016, the Prescott Pickleball Association sought permission from the City Council to begin fundraising for these courts. To date, they've raised about $150,000 for the project. On February 17th, a groundbreaking ceremony took place, and we started moving dirt after that. Per the donation agreement, Prescott Pickleball Association is responsible for all the design, the construction, materials, any permits, and anything necessary for the successful completion of the project. Upon completion, the courts will be dedicated to the City of Prescott and then become the City of Prescott's responsibility to maintain. However, the group has expressed an interest in putting together a volunteer program, much like we have at the dog park, which, by the way, has been phenomenally successful. We have about 20 dedicated volunteers that help us, maintain and clean the facility. So they've expressed an interest in that, which is wonderful. So we've been working with them recently on programming for the facility. Just got this. It's kind of preliminary, but we've got a couple tournaments already lined up. July 17th, 18th, and 19th, which is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'd like to point out, which is what I've talked about before. And we talk about all the time from the tourism perspective is weekends, Memorial Day to Labor Day, we're pretty solid. What we're looking for is midweek events or shoulder season events. So pickleball is one that can fill that gap, and they've illustrated that from this first tournament. The second tournament is going to be in early September, still working on some of the details of that. One of the other things that we're working on programming-wise is to have a kids camp that'll happen in July, get the kids introduced to the sport, which is a good thing too. So a lot of good things happening out there. I was out there Saturday and doing a little work around there a little stress relief for me, but about 10 people approached me, and we're really excited about the project. So things are going well. I think I said the expected annual maintenance cost for the facility is expected to be about $5,500 per year, although we are hoping that we'll get some support from the user group on that. And with that, we've got a quick video that the pickleball people, I call them the pickleball people, wanted us to show here real quick.
Pickle people, Joe. Pickle people.
I just wanted to point out, those are city crews, and we really only work at about 80% of that pace. So it's a little disingenuous. So with that,
who's the Metallica fan? That was pretty nice.
I didn't pick the music. That was done by the volunteer group too. So they've been very supportive and very organized. I'm really happy with the way the progress is going. We expect early June for a dedication ceremony, and the courts will probably open prior to that informally, so probably late May, somewhere in there. And with that, if you have any questions, we have Peg from the Prescott Pickleball Association, a pickle person here that can answer those, and I can answer any questions as well.
Councilman Blair.
Well, knowing that we sit here quite often and quiz our attorney about how we can use recreation impact fee money, I would suggest that maybe we start moving ahead about designing a restroom for the pickle people and all the participants. I've been told time and time again, if there's a need, and a restroom is one of those places that it's a great need, that we start being proactive and design one and get it in place.
Councilman Blair, that's a great point. We do have in our proposed budget a restroom for that facility, that fiscal year 18 budget, and it is proposed to come out of impact fees.
Thank you.
Councilman Shiska.
Thank you. I got a question for you and a question for Councilwoman Orr. Question for you is, do we have room out there for another 8 courts?
We have 1,100 acres out there, so I'm thinking if the demand is there, that's what we do. If the demand is there, and of course it's always nice when we can have an economic impact that goes along with that recreational amenity. So, yeah.
A little return on investment for the town, yeah. And Councilwoman, can you tell us how pickleball got its name?
I can. It was in Washington. The creator of pickleball created the sport for his family because they were kind of just sitting around not doing anything. And so he created it in his garage, and their dog was named Pickle. And Pickle would chase the ball. And so it became pickleball.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. I would, am I up next?
Yeah, you're up next.
I just really want to recognize Randy Travis, who has been our contractor. Randy, if you don't mind, just stand. I'm sorry, Randy Travis. You got your guitar. Randy Price and Nancy, they've done an amazing. Randy's been out there absolutely every day, and just appreciate the work. This job, I would say, is probably about $250,000 if you were to go do it anywhere else, and because of Randy's input and the work that Peg Travers, and Rita Kavanaugh are both here, that they've all done. And Joe, your staff has just been tremendous. So thank you. This is a great gift for the city of Prescott. And when I hear people say we shouldn't do this, I go, what in the world are you thinking? It's wonderful for our quality of life. It's fabulous for our economy. You can just see what the pickle people have already put together. The return on investment to the city, I will say, this year will be tenfold. That's just my prediction. So thank you very much for everybody, all that you did.
Councilwoman Wilcox.
Joe, I'd like to add to Councilman Blair's idea for using park impact fees to look into building some shade structures for the pickleball courts. And if we do expand them, expand those too. I think it's important if they're playing during the summer when the sun is shining directly on them, that people have a place to sit down and stay cool.
Duly noted.
Thank you. I'd like to follow up on what Jean is saying, because I hear Randy often say this is not just a recreational sport. It's also a spectator sport. People like to go and watch pickleball. We will have a lot of people out there wanting to watch this game. And it's also right there by the Brownlow Trailhead. So I was out there today taking some pictures, and it is truly a beautiful complex. It is state-of-the-art. And I'm glad to hear, that when the demand will be there, that we will look at going forward with possibly additional courts. We can be truly, we joke about it, but we can absolutely be the destination. Randy says these are the best courts, no doubt, in Arizona. Believe that, and that they will also possibly be the best in the Southwest. So thank you, Randy.
Any other questions, comments from the council? Any from the public? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind. I lost my place.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, how did I do that? Here I am. I'd like to move to approve the donation agreement with the Prescott Pickleball Association through the Arizona Community Foundation and the allocation of $25,000 out of bed tax fund.
Second. Okay, I have a motion, second. Did you figure out who said second? Okay. Vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Last item.
Item C, award of city contract number 2017-289 for the purchase of library materials from multiple vendors in a total amount not to exceed $180,000 per year for each year of the contract, depending on the library's annual approved budget.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The contract you have in your packet is similar to the contracts the library has used to purchase materials in the past years. It basically asks to spend up to the materials budget as approved by the council each year amongst the various vendors as indicated. The total amount spent between all listed vendors will never exceed the library materials budget in any given year. The library's material budget line is a designated part of the contribution provided by the Yavapai County Free Library System from the countywide library tax. And the advantage of this arrangement is that it gives us the option to pick and choose among the 3 major vendors for the best discount on purchase price. The person who does the actual ordering knows which vendor gives the best discount according to the type of materials being purchased. And obviously, we're aware that changes may occur in any given year's budget, and we will only spend the amount actually in the budget despite the not to exceed amount for each vendor. I'd be willing to answer any questions.
Questions, comments from the council? Any from the public? Do you have a motion?
Mayor, I move to award contracts for library materials to the following vendors: Baker & Taylor Incorporated, Rodart Company, and Ingram Library Services Incorporated, and to the following sole source vendors: Recorded Books, Gale Group, and Overdrive Incorporated.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, my founding father comment for the day is from Thomas Jefferson. The man who reads nothing at all is better educated than the man who reads nothing but newspapers. Thank you.